Assalamu alaikum girls. I'm recording this lecture for your compulsory question that comes into the paper, that is critically analyze the given poems. You have two poems and you have to do any one of them. You have to select one, and there's a good and a bad thing about it. The good thing is that obviously very long poems cannot be included. So you might have sonnets or shorter poems comprising of 20 to 25 lines that come into your exam. Now today we are going to discuss how to critically analyze English poetry. I think Madam Asia has also done some work on it because you have been analyzing poems in your poetry paper as well. So first thing that you need to look for in a poem is the content. The content includes the title of the poem, but most of the time the title is not given. The second thing that you need to focus on is theme, or it can be multiple themes, setting, narrator, and mood. The second thing is the structure. Obviously, you need to understand how the poem was written, whether it was dramatic in nature, whether it was a narrative piece, whether it's satirical, or whether it's lyrical. So we are going to discuss each of these points later. Then we come to the rhyme. Rhyme is basically focusing on how sounds are used in a poem. Sound is a very important part of the harmony or the melody that is included in the poem. The fourth thing that you need to focus is the rhythm and meter. So obviously you need to understand what kind of meter pattern is used. You might have iambic, trochee, spondee, decter, anapaest. Most of the students get overly focused on just this half of the poem, but you need to understand there are 6 headings that you need to complete or you need to go through in order to critically analyze a poem. So don't get overawed or over focused on this just one item. You need to understand the rest of the items as well. And the fifth thing that you need to go through or try to understand or analyze is the style of the poem. The overall impression that you get of a poem is the style. Some poems are symbolic, some are written in a very formal language, some are written in informal, colloquial slang. So every poet has a different style that he adheres to, so you need to understand what kind of style has been adopted by the poet. The last one and a very important part is the figures of speech. Now, the figures of speech are the different devices that a poet uses in order to make his abstract idea concrete in the mind of the readers. So the most common ones are use of simile, metaphor, personification, image and imagery, use of hyperbole, irony, allusion, anaphora, symbols, puns, etc. So these are the 6 points that you need to keep in mind whenever you read a new poem. Obviously, the chances are that the poem that you are going to get in exam is going to be unseen. So you need to have these points in mind before you actually start with your critical analysis. I need to remind you that there are 2 parts of your question. Whenever you are asked to critically analyze a poem, you need to critically analyze the poem as a whole. So it is more like going through stanza to stanza of what the poet is trying to say, maybe focus on the themes of the poem. And there's a separate heading called the stylistic analysis. In the stylistic analysis, you need to discuss these 6 headings one by one. And you can use headings within this part of the question, this part of the exam. Otherwise, it is not usually advised to use headings within a paper, especially if it is poetry or drama or novel. But as far as criticism is concerned, you can use headings, flowcharts, etc. in Aristotle's Poetics, and you can also use it in the practical criticism portion.